Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Thunder, and today we're going to be continuing work on the crafting system. We're going to make it so we can craft, cancel what we're crafting, and that's pretty much it for it. So let's get to it. First of all, open your slot script on Visual Studio, and we're going to add another reference. So it's going to be called public text, and we're going to call it timer text. Go ahead and save it. Then over here we're going to use the input system, not input system, event systems. So do using Unity Engine. Okay, Unity Engine dot event systems. There we go. Now next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do I pointer handler down, and we're going to right click and implement the interface. This is pretty much the same thing we did on the slot, but in here we're going to do it so we can actually start crafting and cancel. So over here we're going to do if event data dot button equals, and we're gonna do pointer event data dot button dot left, and then parentheses, not parentheses, brackets. Now go ahead and copy this, and down here do else space and paste it, but instead of left use right. And over here we're going to add one more thing. Do public inventory manager inventory, and over here make a start function, and we're going to go ahead and do inventory equals get component in parent inventory. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is right over here we're going to make it so we craft. So we're going to do inventory dot try craft. It's gonna give you an error again because it's not created yet, and we're gonna do over here inventory dot cancel. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this script. Now we're going to go ahead to our crafting manager. Okay, not inventory, sorry, it's gonna be crafting manager. That's an error on my part. So just change that for crafting and make it crafting manager. Same thing over here. And over here instead of inventory do crafting. Save it. And we're going to go to our crafting manager, and down here we're going to create the two functions. So a public void try craft. And also we're going to get a template, recipe template, and we're going to do the same thing, but for, actually we don't need to do the same thing. Actually, yeah, let's do it. So just copy and paste this and name it cancel. Cancel. There we go. Alright. Let's do one thing first, which is going to be get our UI ready. Okay, there's one thing. On recipe template, inside the parentheses do this, and then this. And there's one more thing. I'm gonna change this to private. And second, right here we're going to do public. I'm gonna hide it on the inspector though. Hiding inspector, public crafting recipe, and it's gonna be called recipe. Now go back to your recipe manager, and over here on the generate recipes function, go ahead and do recipe dot recipe equals what is the name of it? Recipe template dot game object blah blah. Okay, recipes I, and that's it. So next thing we're going to do is go into Unity, which now it will compile, it won't give us any errors. And let's go to our assets folder, prefabs, and let's go into our recipe template. Actually, let's do it on here. Select your content holder and not drop back. Put your recipe template on it. Then we're going to duplicate the requirements text, or whichever text you want to use. It doesn't really matter. Again, this is all visual. I'm just gonna place it where I want it, and that's gonna be about there. And I'm gonna give it the same size as the name text. And just for testing, I'm gonna do 100.00. Alright, so let's hit play and see how it looks. Okay, yeah, the number looks pretty good. Next thing we're going to do, select this recipe template and drag the text over here, which I'm going to rename to timer text. Okay, then the recipe template, drag it to its prefab so it updates, and you can go ahead and delete it. Now, next thing we're going to do in here is going to be, we're going to make it so when we generate it, we deactivate that text because we only want it to show when it's like being played. So we're going to do recipe dot timer text. Actually, we're not gonna deactivate it. We're just gonna make it empty. So we're gonna make it timer text.text, and it's going to be equals to an empty string. And we're going to save it. Okay, next thing. Over here, we're going to do if snot has resources and put 2 parentheses, and I'll explain why to you. Return. And also over here do and or, actually we're going to use an or, is crafting, you just return. So first thing we're going to do over here, we're going to create a public bool. So this is a boolean function which will return either true or false based on the content we give inside of it. So it's going to be resources, and I'm going to add the s over here because I just put resource. And is crafting, we're going to add it up here. I'm just going to comment this out so I know it's the private variables. Okay, there we go. Then we're going to go over here into has resources, and we're okay, so this is what we're going to do. Create an int array and call it needed, actually not needed stack, stacks needed. And we're gonna make it equals to the recipe which we're gonna pass in here. So we're gonna pass a crafting recipe equals to recipe dot stack amount needed. Okay. What was the reference for this? The name we gave it. Okay, so we're gonna have to do it another way. So just do it like this and make it equals, will null work? Okay, make it equals null. Then we're gonna create a list of integers. So int, and we're going to name it stacks needed list. And it's gonna be equals a new integer list. So next, we're going to actually get the stacks needed. So stacks needed, get stacks needed. And then over here, we're going to run a for. So for int I equals 0, then I is less than, if I is less than recipe, the requirements, not recipe name, requirements dot length, then I plus plus. Alright, then we're gonna make the two brackets. And inside here, all we're going to do is we're going to make it so we add the resource to the stack list. So we're gonna do stack needed list that add recipe dot requirements I dot amount needed. We really do not need to have this in a order, so it doesn't really matter. And then what we're going to do at the end of this for loop, right after we finish it, is we're gonna say stacks needed equals stack needed list dot to array. Okay, so that's it for getting the stacks. Now we're going to have to do one more thing. That's gonna be another int array, and it's going to be stacks available, and we're gonna make it equals null because we'll give that value right after this code. So we're going to make stacks available equals new int array, and over here we're gonna do stacks needed dot length. There we go. So now we're going to check if we actually have the items. So we're going to go ahead and do check for items, and it's going to be another for loop. So we're going to do int I equals 0 if I is less than recipe dot requirements dot length I plus plus. Then inside here we're going to do one crucial thing. So we're going to do stacks available okay, actually no, we're not gonna run it based on this. We're gonna run it based on the inventory, and we're gonna need a reference for that. So over here we're going to make a private inventory, and then we're gonna give it its value on start. Inventory sorry guys, inventory equals get component in parent inventory manager. Alright, so next let's go back down again, and over here we're gonna do inventory dot inventory slots. Okay, we're going to have to go to our inventory manager and make that public. So let me go ahead and load it, because we have our slots to be private. So what we're going to do is go to your slots array, make it public, and I am going to hide it on the inspector, but you don't really have to. That's just so my inspector window is not so cramped. So let's go back to our crafting manager, and we're gonna do over here inventory slots dot length. And over here what we're going to do is if inventory dot inventory slots I dot data equals recipe dot requirements. Okay, I keep putting recipe name, requirements I dot data, then we're going to run this code. So we're going to do stacks available plus equals inventory dot inventory slots I dot stack size. Okay, stacks available I. There we go. So I'm pretty sure that should be it for it. And next thing we're going to do is // also go up here and add a public boolean, not public, just bool. It's going to be a local variable. Can craft and let's make it by default to true. Then go here and say return CanCraft. Over here I'm gonna comment it out and is check if it can craft. Then another for int I equals 0, then I, if I is less than stacks available the length, then I plus plus. And over here we're gonna do if stacks available I is less than stacks needed I, we're going to go ahead and do CanCraft equals false and break, because there's no point in keep running the for if we already cannot craft. So basically what we're doing is first we're getting the stacks needed from the recipe. Then we're turning that list that we added the recipe requirements amount needed into the array. Then the stacks available basically equals a new array with the amount needed, the amount of numbers that's on the stacks needed, but at 0. Then over here we get the data. If the data equals the recipe requirement data, then we add that to the stack available, which is basically going to show, okay, you need 20 wood, but you only have 23, or you only have 18. So that's pretty much what this for right here does. Then the last for, basically all it does is, if at any point any of the stacks available is less than the amount needed, just it cannot craft, and then just break it so we do not keep going on the for. So we stop the for, and it just goes here and returns CanCraft. So that's pretty much it for our hash resources. Now we're gonna need one more bool function. So public bool, no, actually not a public bool, just a void. Take resources. And we're gonna pass it again a recipe, a crafting recipe. And it's gonna be sort of similar to this, but not necessarily like that. So what we're going to do is first, this first code right here, it's going to be pretty much identical. So copy that and then go down here and paste it. But instead of stacks available, it's going to be stacks left to take. And over here on this recipe, on get stacks needed, first of all, get this and put it here. But instead of that, we're going to make it so it just equals the same as stacks needed. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to go ahead, actually let's do something else. Sorry guys, just delete stacks left to take. We don't need that, so go ahead and delete that. We're not gonna need it. And next we're going to run another for that actually gets takes the items away. So let's go ahead and do these take items. Then over here again, same thing, for int I equals 0, then I is less than stacks needed, would it be? Okay, no, inventory, sorry, inventory dot inventory slots dot length and I plus plus. And over here we're gonna first to check if the inventory slot is empty, because otherwise if we don't check this we're gonna get a bunch of errors. So let's go ahead and do if inventory dot inventory slots I dot is empty, simply just return. Else, first go down here and say inventory dot inventory slots I dot update slot. The reason I'm doing this now instead of after we finish with the for is just so I don't forget. And over here is where all of our logic will go. If inventory dot inventory slots I equals okay, so this for is not gonna work. Just give me a second to see where I went wrong, and I'll be back in a moment with you guys. Okay guys, so this is what we're going to do. Just delete this right here, delete all of it, and over here make it to be based in the recipe dot requirements dot length, because we're going to run another for inside of this. So let's go ahead and do recipe dot requirements dot length. So for each one of these we're gonna run another for. Again, as it's a nested for, you need to make it another letter. I just like using B, but you can use whichever letter you want. Same thing for I, it's just the mostly common used one. So B equals 0, then B, if B is less than inventory dot inventory slots dot length, we do B plus plus. And over here, what we're going to do is if inventory dot inventory slots dot B equals recipe dot requirements I. Actually, we're gonna do that data. So go ahead and add that data, but we have to add the check once again. So over here we're gonna do if inventory slots inventory dot inventory slots B dot is empty, just return. Alright, and over here at the end of this if, again, just do inventory dot inventory slots I, no, not I, B dot update slot. Okay, so next thing we're going to do, over here we're going to be taking our resources, and we are going to make sure that the stacks needed, it's actually getting decreased, so we do not keep on with the for. So what we're going to do is we're also going to add a boolean over here. Actually no, we don't need that boolean. Sorry guys, I haven't done a crafting system in a while. It's been like a year since I did one of this. Next thing we're going to do is if stacks needed dot I dot, no, not that, is less than, we're gonna do recipe dot requirements I dot amount needed. We are going to go ahead and run all of this. Otherwise, we just want to break the for. So what we're going to do is stacks needed is less than recipe dot requirements I dot amount needed. Then we're gonna do stacks needed. Okay, we're gonna check if stacks needed, yes, minus inventory dot inventory slots B is less than 0, then we're going to execute a certain code. Okay, what's going on? Okay, I accidentally, okay, what the hell? So that one's getting close to there. Yeah, there's an issue right here. Stacks minuses. Okay, yeah, this is the issue. That's why I got messed up. Alright, so if it's less than that one, okay, issue keeps going on. This is just with the brackets, the whole brackets thing. So I'm gonna do this. Yeah, that was the issue. I added that extra bracket. There we go. If stack needed minus inventory slots b dot stack size is less than or equals to 0, if stacks needed I. Right, there we go, finally. Alright, so next thing we're gonna do here, if it's less than 0, then we are just going to see how much less is it, and we're going to make sure that we're not taking more than we really need. So all we're really going to do is stacks needed minus equals stack size. Wait. Stacks needed I equals 0. Okay guys, give me just a second because it seems like I cannot think right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this, find out the equation, and I'll get back to you guys in a moment. Okay guys, I already figured it out. So what we're going to do over here, so if stacks needed minus this is less than stack size, what we're going to do is keep this stacks needed thing that equals 0, but first we're going to do inventory dot inventory slots b dot stack size minus equals stack needed I. There we go. So that's pretty much all we have to do for this one. So next thing is stacks needed equals 0. So else if it's greater than 0, so if we do not have all that we need on a stack, all we're going to do is go ahead and just subtract that from whatever stack we have. So we just clean our slot and we subtract its stack size, the item needed, from the stack size, by the stack size pretty much. So we're gonna do else, and I'm just gonna really just do stack needed I minus equals inventory dot inventory slots b dot stack size, and then we're just gonna empty the slot. Stack needed dot inventory, okay, not stack needed, inventory dot inventory slots b dot clean slot. Well, clean. There we go. So I believe that's pretty much it for taking our items away. So that should work. So now we're gonna get into the last part of crafting. So what we're gonna do, if it's not has resources recipe, okay, so over here inside of the parentheses of has resources on this try craft function, we're gonna do template dot recipe, and there you go. So next thing, we're going to make sure that we have a crafting timer and it's not just instant. So next thing over here, we're gonna do private float crafting is crafting equals false by default. Okay, you can just leave it without the equals because it already is false. Then private float, and this is a boolean, not a float. Private float current timer, and then private float timer. So next thing we're gonna do on trycraft, after all of this is done, first we're gonna take our resources away. So take resources, again, template dot recipe, and then we're going to actually set it so it's crafting. Go back up and add one more thing. So do public recipe template recipe in craft, so the recipe we're crafting, and then between the start and the generate recipes, do a update function. And over here, all we're gonna do is if is crafting, then over here we're going to check if timer is less than or equal to, is less than, not timer, current timer, sorry. Current timer is less than timer. Okay, I accidentally went down. We're going to update the recipe in craft dot timer dot text equals current timer dot toString, and I'm gonna make it so it shows like 100.00 or 20.00, but you don't really have to do that. So if you just want to do whole numbers, just do lowercase f 0. So that means no floats into your numbers. If you just want to do a float value, a decimal value, do 1, then and so on, you know. But I'm gonna use 2 decimal values. Recipe in timer dot text current timer dot toString, and over here I'm gonna do, right after this, it's gonna be current timer plus equals time dot delta time. If okay, else we will update this one more time, even if we're already done crafting. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna actually add the item. So we're gonna do inventory dot add item. We're gonna pass it it's a pickup item, but we're gonna use a different function, which it's gonna be the same one but with a couple of tweaks. And we're just gonna pass it the outcome. Okay, recipe in craft dot data, okay, that recipe dot outcome, comma, recipe in craft dot recipe dot output amount, outcome amount, and just close it. And then we're gonna do is crafting equals null, and not null, false. And over here, instead of this, we're going to make it empty, the timer text. So just put 2 quotes, and that should be it. Now, the last part of the whole tutorial is, this is the simplest part, which is go to the inventory manager, copy your whole add item function. So I'm just gonna copy it. Okay, here it's closed, but if you have it open like this, you have to drag it like from here all the way up. And just paste it. And initially it's going to give you an error because it's got the same name. But here's the thing about C#. You can use the same name, but as long as it has different needs. So if it was to be like this, you see no more errors, but we have to pick up that data error. So we're gonna do inventory item, item as o, data, comma, item as o, not item as o, int stack size. Now we do have to readapt a couple of things over here. So this, delete all that says pickup and the dot that follows it. So go ahead and do this. There we go. So this is pretty much just refactoring, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing much for it. How many times have I said much in the last 10 seconds? Okay, so this is pretty much it. Like, just delete this, and here. So on destroy game object, just delete it because you're not gonna need it. But we don't want to disappear the amount. Like, let's say we do not have space in our inventory. We don't want it to disappear. We actually want it to be dropped. So that's what we're going to do in a moment. So go ahead and do that. And then over here, find empty slot, okay? if empty slot is not equals null. So you see here what we need to do is drop item, which takes in a slot, but we're gonna make another one for that. So we're gonna do drop item, and we're gonna pass it on to data, comma, stack size. Stack size. There we go. So now over here again, just delete your pickup. So go ahead and do it, and delete this. Save it. Okay guys, so as I was saying, now all we have to do is do the drop item. So also we have to do one more thing. We're going to copy from this bracket all the way to slot, empty slot. We're gonna copy all of it, and over here inside this else, we're going to substitute it for this. Now, okay, there's an extra bracket right there. There we go. Okay, so now let's just copy drop item, and we're gonna put it here. But instead of slot, we're going to do inventory item, item itself. We're gonna do data, comma, int stack size. And now we just delete slot dot, and that should be it. And delete this slot dot clean too. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and test it. Okay, let me just check one thing. Let's go all the way up. Okay, on crafting manager. If it's crafting, blah blah. There's still one more error. So I don't know what's going on with this, but okay, so yeah, I'm missing a bracket right here. Alright, so that should be it. I'm just going to go ahead and check that. Yeah, I'm missing cancel. So we're going to do this, and it's actually pretty damn simple, to be honest. All you do is you run it for int I equals 0. If I is less than template dot data dot recipe dot requirements dot length I plus plus, and then we just go here and we do inventory dot add item, and instead of pickup again, we just do what we just used. So we do template dot recipe dot requirements I dot data, and I'm just gonna copy this right here, comma after the data, and do dot stack size or needed amount. And there's one more thing you do have to do, and is if it's not is crafting, return. So that's pretty much it for cancel. So although here we do have to do some more things, we're done with update, but we're going to need to do this. So over here, all we have to do is recipe in craft equals template, and then we do is crafting equals true, and crafting timer, current timer equals 0, and timer equals template dot recipe dot crafting time. And that's it. That's all you do for this. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and check. The reason I'm checking is because it's been like 3 hours since I paused the recording, so I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, all of it looks fine, so I'm going to do one thing. just do this. Don't do this that I'm doing. The reason I'm doing it is to get errors because Unity wasn't compiling by itself. So whenever you create a script and like see like your variables that you just created are not appearing, it most likely is because Unity didn't compile it, which happens rarely, but it does happen. So all you have to do is that. Okay, and let's go to one of our dropbacks, and instead of here's cooked meat, I'm gonna leave cooked meat right there, stones, this one. I'm gonna make it 50, and over here, I'm gonna make it 52, and I'm gonna give it the wood, because this is what my stone hatchet requires. And there's one more thing we do have to make. Okay, never mind, it's fine. So let's go in here and test it. Not sure if it will work, but it should. Alright, so let's go ahead and hit it. Index out of range. Has resources. Let me just check what's going on. Why the hell isn't this loading? Okay, let me pause it. Index out of a range has resources. Crafting manager that has resources. Which line is it at? Okay guys, okay, it's at CS27. Alright. 27. It's not there. Okay guys, I'm gonna pause for a moment and I'm gonna see how to fix the error and I'll get back to you in more. Okay guys, I found out the error. I'm gonna use this to show you guys something. So basically this is the Unity console, and right over here you can see the information of the error. Usually when you double click on it, it will take you to the exact line where the error happened, but in this case it didn't. So over here you can see it says CS 121. That's the exact line of code that this error happened. And if you go further down, it will tell you all that led to it. So first on pointer down on line 27 on the recipe template, then it went to 75, line 75 on the crafting manager, then the final place where the error happened was line 121 of the crafting manager, which is this right here. The reason this is happening is the following. What we're going to do is first just let that 4 be there and make a new 4. We're gonna do int b equals 0 if b is less than recipe dot requirements dot length, then b++. Now make a parenthesis here and make another one here, and over here where it says recipe dot requirements I, instead of I, do b, and over here in stacks available, instead of I, do b, and that should fix it. So let's go back to Unity and test that out. Okay, let me just maximize it. Okay, so if I click on it, yeah, nothing's happening because we don't have the resources. I'm going to go ahead and pick the resources up. There we go. So now I should have for it. Okay, it's doing it instantly because I have it. Okay, sorry, just got a message. It's doing it instantly because I have the time set to 0 right over here. So I'm gonna do 20 seconds. So let's go ahead and pick the items up. And you can see the timer is going there. Although there's one error we've got. We gotta do it the opposite way. Now it's going up. but we gotta do it downwards. So we're going to fix that in a moment. I'm just going to make sure that it actually crafts the item. Okay, so 18, 19, there we go. Although it did not take the resources, which we're going to have to fix, because it's not taking the resources away. We're getting the hatchet and everything, but it's not taking the resources. So let's go ahead and see what happened there. At first, there's no errors. And don't worry about this R, that's something I added for debugging. So, right there. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Are we executing take resources? Okay, we're doing take resources. Let's go to the function and see where it's happening. That data equals recipe.requirements I.data, and you do b.clean slots. Okay, I see what's going on. So this is the only one we're doing. We're not doing it if we have more items on the slot. So over here, else if stack needed, if stack needed I is less than recipe dot requirements dot amount needed, do that. Wait, there might be an error here. So if stacks needed I is less than, so if this is at whatever point amount needed, okay, I don't know what's going on right now, but I will fix it. Stacks needed I equals that, and requirements is less than amount needed. Okay, so here's the issue. Stacks needed. I know what we're doing wrong. So the issue right now is because this is supposed to be larger than the amount needed. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. So over here we're doing inventory, that inventory slots, that stack size minus equals stack needed. I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of this and just recode it. If stacks needed is less than recipe dot requirements amount needed, we're going to do if stacks needed I is plus inventory dot inventory slots b dot stack size is greater than amount needed. Okay, then recipe dot requirements dot amount needed requirements I dot amount needed. There we go. Then we're going to check the difference between that. So okay, int amount to take from slot equals, so inventory plus it would be inventory minus, alright, so equals inventory dot inventory slots b dot stack size minus stacks needed I. So no, not amount to take, amount left on inventory on slot, amount left on slot. Then over here we're going to do slot, not slot, inventory dot slots, so inventory slots I dot stack size equals amount left on slot, and then stacks needed equal I. Okay, over here in slots, don't do I, do B. I dot equals inventory slots, okay, equals the recipe dot requirements I dot stack that amount. Okay, so that's pretty much how it is. Else, all we're going to do is pretty much just do stacks needed plus equals inventory dot inventory slots dot stack size, and then we just clean the slot. So let's go ahead and do that. Dot I plus equals inventory dot slots B dot stack size, and then we just do this right here dot clean. Alright, something that you guys must know, this, whether you put I or B on this, is crucial because it can mess the entire system up. So just keep that in mind, and if you're getting any errors with regards to this, check for this because you might have it wrong. Okay, if it's less than requirements that amount needed, we don't need these cells, so go ahead and save it, and let's go ahead and test it out in Unity. Alright, let's pick everything up and try crafting. And we're going to fix the timer thing in a moment. Alright, let's just wait. Also guys, if you want to know a good way to make icons, this is not the best way to do it, but it's the way I do it for my game. The way I do it for my game is basically I make the model, so in this case is a stone hatchet. I just take the model, just use the snipping tool to get it, and I use a green background, basically like a green screen, and then I just go into Paint.net because I don't own Photoshop, and I just cut out the green part. Okay, let's go ahead and fix the timer before we get into that. So in the timer, what we're going to do, if current timer is less than timer, first of all, over here let's do minus equals, and over here we're going to do if current timer is less than timer. We don't really need timer, so go ahead and delete it. So just do this and do if current timer is greater than 0, we do this, else we just finish crafting. And then go back to craft, for, delete this where it says timer, make it current timer, and just go ahead and delete this. So that's our timer fixed. Now I have to check through the code and see what's going on, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll stop the recording for a while. Again guys, I know there's been a lot of errors, but this is just game development. I should have done this code before, but it's been way too long and I don't want to be doing code twice, especially because of the fact of having to delete every single detail that I've changed from all the scripts, which is pretty annoying and pretty hard not to miss something and then confuse you all, because then you go like, okay, where did this variable come from, because it wasn't there last tutorial, you know? So I don't want that happening either. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm gonna fix this and I'll let you guys know. Okay guys, so I'm pretty sure I found out what the error was. So first, over here, do the line of code like this. So first, the inventory parentheses, inside the parentheses we put inventory that inventory slots B that stack size plus stacks needed. Then after the parentheses we do minus recipe that requirements that amount. Then we're going to go back up here, and where it says amount needed, all we're going to do is do 0. That's it. And right after we do that, we're going to go back in here and let's go ahead and hit play. And also I found out a bug with the canceling, which we'll solve in a moment. Because we're giving the resources back, but we're not actually canceling crafting. Alright, there you go. So we took the wood away. What happened with this? Okay, 15, 30. So we're taking the wood away. I don't know what's going on with the stone, but this is the bug I was talking about. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and first let's solve that bug. So let's go back to canceling. And right after we do this, we're going to make it is crafting. Actually, no, we're going to make it is crafting equals false recipe template recipe in craft dot recipe, no, not recipe, timer text dot text equals empty string. There we go. So that should be fixed. Now let's go back in here, and I'm going to just quickly check what this is doing. Inventory slots, return if inventory slots that is empty. Requirements that length. So for each requirement, we're going through the whole thing. So for inventory slots b dot update, inventory slots b dot clean, inventory it's b I b I b I. Okay. So we've got a slight issue over here, which I'm going to go ahead and solve, but let's just make sure that canceling works. I think this has been the most difficult tutorial of all, which I did not plan it to be. Okay, if I cancel it, there we go. Alright, so now we have to check why isn't this taking. Let me just test a slight case. So 30 out. So we're only taking the wood away. Let me just check my recipe that it's not messed up. It's got wood, but yeah, it is. Stones. Alright. Crafting time. Stones requirement is 10, wood is 20. Okay, again, gonna go ahead and fix it, and then I'll let you guys know how to do it. Okay guys, so I already figured it out. So all you have to do is first over here do an exclamation sign, so it means if it's false. Then make an opening bracket right there, and right after this one make a closing one. Save it, and let's go back to Unity. So let's hit play and test it out. Okay, yeah, I don't have anything on me. Okay. So there you go. Took 20 from this one and 10 from this one. And if I cancel it, it goes back into the stack. And that's it. I'm going to do one more thing, and that's gonna be make this the exact values just to test it out. But I'm pretty sure it will work. So this is the stone, which is 10, and this is the wood, which is 20, what it requires. Okay, I gotta move it around so it updates. Okay, yep, and there you go. It works perfectly. Alright, so that's it for the crafting system. That's all there is to it. So you already have a inventory system, crafting system, health, consuming, all the basic things you need. Next tutorial we'll get into weapons. Although I'm not sure if it's gonna be the next one, because I do want to make a tutorial just making a world. Like the map, basically adding trees, making a nice terrain, not just a flat ground. And that tutorial is gonna be optional, so I don't know if I'll make it the next one or after the weapon system, but we'll see about that. So you can skip that tutorial if you want once you see it, just letting you guys know. But if you don't know how to make a terrain or like design your world in Unity, I do recommend you go ahead and take a look at it and go through it with me. But again, it's up to you. But pretty much this is all the code for the inventory system. And if you guys liked the video, as always, please hit the like button, subscribe, and comment down below. It always helps a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next one.